Special called meeting of the Ratcliffe City Council for Tuesday, September 13th, 2016 at 4:30 p.m. will come to order. Invocation, please stand, will be delivered by Michael Pike.
Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day. Thank you for this chance to meet together in peace and in freedom. Thank you for our country. Thank you for the mayor and the council. We ask that you give them wisdom as they conduct the business of the city. Thank you for our citizens and all of our blessings. In Christ's name, amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Miss Aldridge, would you call the roll?
Barbara Baker. Here. Stan Holmes is absent. Edward Palmer.
Here.
Harry Short.
Here.
Kim Thompson.
Here.
Rich Yates.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. There are two items of new business for today. The first is the Quiggins Basin bid. And you have that bid information in a document from the city engineer, Toby Spalding, which shows bids ranging from a low of $1,828,145.60 to a high bid of $2,995,000. FEMA estimated the cost of the Quiggins Basin to be $2.1 million, and with that, they authorized a standard change order of 10%. So they authorized the city engineer to spend an overage of 10% of $2.1 million. That's standard practice. The city engineer is recommending that the city council accept the low bid of $1,828,145.66 and award it to Ram Construction LLC. The city engineer anticipates there will be some change orders due to the nature of the bid, which does not include repair of the surface to 31W after we load 2,700 articulated trucks and drive them from the bottom of that basin across 31W and dump that load and compact it to build the road base for the connector road that goes from Centennial and takes you, extension of that, across to Wilson Road. Now, the city engineer needs no additional authorization from us locally to exceed the FEMA estimated cost of $2.1 million, about 10%. However, he cannot authorize a change order for any amount unless the city council approves an authorization for the mayor to obligate additional money from the $237,658.93 already authorized by the city council, which is our 13% contribution to the low bid of $1,828,145.60.
Mayor, I make a motion that the council go ahead and approve and award the Quiggins Basin FEMA project to the lowest bidder, Ream Construction, for the bid of $1,828,145.60, and also authorize the mayor to approve change orders not to exceed $20,000 from the $13,000 FEMA water matching fund.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a
Can we
motion and a
hear-
second. Do I have any discussion?
Can we hear the rest of your statement?
I think you need to hear it, but I'll give
Well,
it
I
to
mean,
you.
yeah, I mean, I want
Okay,
to
it's Lark.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, well, you didn't cut me off at any particular time. As part of the low bid acceptance, our engineer recommends council approval authorizing the mayor to approve change orders not to exceed $20,000. And that $20,000 would be less than 8.5%. In fact, 8.5% would be $20,200. And that's of the 13% contribution for the project from us. So I need the motion that you just made. And I have a second on it. Is there any other discussion on it?
What do you know about Rame Construction? Give me any information about this particular vendor?
They did Walmart, I believe.
Yeah.
They're from where Toby lives out there in
Okay,
Marion County.
city engineer, in the future, don't come to my table unless I invite you.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Okay. Now, I think the question is directed to you. It's what you know about Ram Construction.
They're from Springfield, Kentucky. Obviously, they done the Walmart. They did all the site work for Walmart. They did work for us. They did the sewer line, water line, and turning lanes on Dixie for Walmart. They did the entirety of the site work for Rural King. And that's all the work they done local, Mr. Palmer.
You know who the principal officers are?
The principal officer would be John Hayden.
Okay.
So,
Now, just for our information, for anybody who's on this bid list to submit a bid, they have to be cleared to do that and have to have all the insurance that's necessary and have to be bonded. Go through all that bonding that they have to do.
well, they have to be, they have to put down a 10% bid bond, and they have to put a 100% performance bond and payment bond, which means they have to have two bonds in the amount of $1.8 million. The performance bond, to me, the payment bond is repetitive, especially, but the payment bond ensures that they pay all the people that they have bought stuff from, is what the payment bond does. The performance bond ensures, that's an insurance company ensuring to us that that work's going to be completed in the amount of the full contract amount. So in order to secure a bond for that amount, 1.8 million, you have to be solvent, so they have done all that. Of course, in order to bid on it, they have to be licensed locally. They have to be, as you might be attributed to, they have to be registered with Secretary of State, which our engineer, did you all get that paperwork submitted? I mean, the engineer gave his recommendation. He checked their background. Also, he sends me an email making the same recommendation. So after review and a review of all the bids, that was their recommendation also. So
John Hayden's the only principal officer you know of on this?
he's the one I know of, yes.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have.
Now, what Toby and I have discussed on the, I think it would take 6,000 triaxle trucks to carry this dirt from the Quiggins Basin to the other side of the road. However, that's what you told me, Toby.
It might be closer to 7,000. That's
Okay,
what I'm
well,
at.
6,000 is okay for this discussion. But you can't fill those triaxle trucks down inside that basin. You have to put it in an articulated truck, take it up and reload it. By doing articulated trucks, you can make the process speed up. You can load them down in the basin and drive them straight across 31W. We don't know how much damage is going to be done to that, but we do know when the damage is done, we have to pay for that. But 87% of that money comes from FEMA, and the other 13% will come from us. Plus, we might do some damage to a guardrail, just a few minor things, and it is much cheaper for us to leave that out of this $1,828,000 bid and do that ourselves, because if we didn't, it would have to go through RAM Construction, and they would charge at least an additional 15% for handling it. So this is Toby's idea, and it makes sense to me, and it's a smart way, I think, of handling it.
So you're saying the repair to Dixie is going to be completed at a later date by the city of Radcliffe?
No, it'll be completed by the 20,000 that you need to, that I would like for you to authorize me, will be our 13% of any of the damages, and 87% of it will come from FEMA.
Yeah.
And Toby already has that authorization and doesn't need it from us.
Indeed.
In order for him to do that extra work, we have to authorize our 13%, or he can't do any of it.
Right.
Right, I get
But I
that.
think it's all gonna be done at the same time. She's asking if it's gonna be done at a later date.
Well, I
Oh,
meant
no.
after we get everything
When all
moved.
the
I didn't
hauling,
mean a long later
Yeah,
date.
Oh, okay.
I
We're just
said that's
changing, we're just
separate.
basically changing the way we access the funds.
There's
Right.
several,
Because the process
Yes.
of trying to access the funds in this bid with all the extra work would just exacerbate the price and draw the process out.
And slow the process down.
Right.
But is the city of Radcliffe going to be doing the main work on the highway?
No,
That's
we
what it
probably-
sounded like.
No, we will probably bid that out.
So will that come back before the council or no?
No, it doesn't need to. It doesn't need to come back before the council. That's what the 20,000 and his 87% is for.
Now, the variance that FEMA gives him is already approved. That's coming out of the FEMA grant, so we don't need to touch that. the 20% that would match that variance is what the mayor's asking for. That 13%, which is $20,000, is what
Yeah.
the mayor's asking us
Actually,
to approve ahead of time.
that's only 8.5%. It's
Right.
not really the 10% that he has, but he doesn't think it's gonna cost any more than that.
And it's a very, the state has been very cooperative with us, and the amount of money they have saved us by allowing us to use these articulated trucks in this construction process is no telling how much that saved us. But on top of that, we have to take responsibility for the damage done to the streets, and the damage done to the street from the articulated trucks probably won't be any worse than the damage done from 7,000 triaxles
Right.
crossing the road.
So
Right, you're still moving that same amount
Amount of dirt.
of dirt, no matter if it's one trip or 600 trips.
when the last triaxle goes across, and we have finished Quiggins Basin moving dirt, we're ready to put a bid out to repair the road.
But that bid that to repair the road's gonna be under 20,000?
It'll be, our match will be under 20,000. If it goes over 20,000 for our part, then we come back to the council for approval.
I'm just not very good with having bids go out that the council doesn't approve. I mean, sounds like we're just giving a blanket approval now, go do whatever.
What Scotty's will probably do, the resurfacing work is, obviously, we have known costs for that, because Scotty's, that's, probably most likely will do the work. Now, I don't even know whether, it may be able to be rolled into the same contract price that we have. If there's work that needs to be done, it will be on an emergency, when the state comes out, and if that road is, any kind of hazard, by part of the permit, we'll have a fixed time to get it done. It won't be time to, it'll be an emergency.
Well, and that leads me to my next question. Are there gonna be improvements made to that road in the meantime, or is it gonna be where it's almost impassable, or make a big?
The state will be monitoring it, and it'll be their call as far as when there needs to be repairs
But
done.
we could do repairs basically all along to
It could
to keep
be.
it passable.
Yeah,
where
they
it's-
don't foresee it, but, it could be. If they come, obviously the road deteriorates faster than they expect, obviously we'll mill it down, we'll resurface it, and there will be some shoulder work, because as soon as you drop off that, on the other side of the white line on Dixie,
It's gonna go down.
it's gonna go down. That will be rebuilt, part of the same fund that we're talking about is on, above and beyond the contract that the contractor has agreed to. All responsibility for Dixie has fallen on the city, and the state likes it that way because it's part of our permit. They know that they got one-stop shopping.
Right.
They come to us, and we get it done, and that's the only way we were able to get that amount of work approved to go across there. It's probably unheard of for them to allow this to happen, and we appreciate them working with us and getting it done, because it saved us quite a bit of money.
When we first started talking about this, Toby didn't think they'd let us use those articulated trucks. The articulated truck is those usually big Caterpillars that are yellow in color and
Yeah, they rotate in the middle.
rotate in the middle and hold a whole lot more dirt than it looks
Right.
like they hold.
Yeah,
And they're better capable of dumping it when they get to the
yeah.
roadside.
I don't have anything else.
Anybody else have any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Barbara Baker,
Yes.
Edward Palmer,
Yes.
Terry Short.
Yes.
Kim Thompson.
Yes.
Chris Yates.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses, it passes.
Okay. The second item of new business is the first reading of an ordinance adopting the property tax rate for 2016. That information is in your packet and informs you that the rate is the same as it was last year. And if there are any questions about that, I would take them now. If not, we'll have Mr. Pike to do the first reading, and then we will do the second reading next week. Okay.
May I ask something?
Okay.
In our memo here, it says the compensating rate was computed to be the same. However,
All of those three rates that you see are the same as last year.
right, but the compensating rate is what's computed to give you the same dollar figure as the previous year. So by taking the 1.159, we're getting 17,000 more than we received last year. So with the compensating rate that was computed should have been less than the 159? Do you know, Chance?
Chance Fox, would you come to my
I
table?
wasn't gonna approach unless you said something.
Well, I've now said something.
I don't know if I quite understood your
Do you know what
question,
I'm
but
saying?
bottom line is, the compensating rate is, is the computed rate based off of the assessments for well, it's based on several factors, but the majority of the factors have to deal with the assessments for 2016. New property that's on the
Right.
tax roll. We did have an increase in total taxable value. I think it was $11 million increase in
Right.
total real property assessments more than last year. So because we had an increase in taxable assessments, that is what ultimately kept the computed rate to be the same as it was last year at 159. Last year, if you remember the council, the rate was actually computed to be higher. I believe it was like 0.162.
Right.
The council chose to keep it the same as it was in 2014, to keep it at 159. This year, that was not the case. We had $11 million in increase in taxable value, which kept the rate the same.
Well, would that not lower the rate? Because we
It
have,
depends on the amount of the assessments. 11 million was not enough to drive the rate even lower, but hypothetically, yes, if you had 15 or 20 million, and I'm using round figures, but if you had more, the more your assessments are new to the tax roll than the previous year, it's going to drive your rate down. And it just worked itself out that there was enough of an increase that kept the rate the same. But if there had been more than 11 million, the rate would have been 158 or 157.
okay, that's what I wanted to make sure that we looked at that. We didn't just say, this is the
No,
rate
the
we
rate
had
was
last
computed.
year, we'll
No,
go with this.
the rate, I always compute the rate and share with the council how the rate is legally to be computed.
Right.
And then the council makes the decision whether you accept it or reduce it or increase it.
Okay.
Okay, I need a sponsor for the first reading.
I'll sponsor, Mr.
Mayor, this is an ordinance levying City of
Thank you.
Radcliffe ad valorem taxes for general municipal purposes for the fiscal year of 2017 on all taxable property within the taxing jurisdiction of the city on each $100 of calendar year 2016 assessed valuation as follows: on real property, 0.159, and personal property, 0.202, including real and personal property of public service companies. On privately owned and registered vehicles and watercraft, 0.199, and bank deposit tax, 0.00025. Be it ordained by the City of Radcliffe as follows. Section 1, that for the purposes of support of the government of the City of Radcliffe and the payment of its debts and expenses for the fiscal year 2017, there will be and hereby are levied ad valorem taxes on each $100 of the calendar year 2016 assessed valuation of all taxable property within the taxing jurisdiction of the city as follows. A, real property and personal property. Personal property includes inventory, furniture, and fixtures of a business, including inventory held for resale, including real and personal property of public service companies on the Department of Revenue assessed valuation. Real property, 0.159, personal property, 0.202, bank deposit tax, 0.00025. B, privately owned registered vehicles and watercraft not a part of inventory shall be taxed at the rate of 0.199. Section 2, that this ordinance shall become effective on the date of its passage and publication as required by law. That is the first reading, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, that concludes our business for this special called meeting, so I need
Motion to adjourn.
have a motion to adjourn. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay, we have adjourned, and we will go from here into the work session, and the council members present at the special called meeting are still present for the work session. And first, I have 5 topics that are just informational topics that I want to pass on to you. The first one is that you have an ordinance in your packet amending FY 15-16 budget. It will get its first reading at the regular meeting on September the 20th. But you have all of that information there. And if you want to ask Mr. Fox any questions about that, I'll call him back up to the table now. And if you don't have any questions now, then you have another opportunity for questions when we do the first reading. Can we get
So-
this first reading and
So I guess I just,
go ahead.
what is the the final number, the bottom line.
Chance, come on
At the
back up.
bottom now.
Yeah, I just want him to verify.
We have some money left over.
I see it, I just want him to verify.
Okay, he's
Hey,
here.
Councilman, what was the question?
Just the bottom line, what's the surplus?
Over the course of the fiscal year, and we had part of this discussion recently when we were talking about a recommendation for some additional asphalt. I think the figure was $200,000 to do additional paving. So, we took about $500,000 out of reserves, but we have about $237,000 in cash on hand as of July 1st. That money has not gone back into reserves yet, only because of how our payables work. We needed that money on hand July 1st to take care of.
237?
237. So I believe we had 3.8 million in reserves at July 1, 2015. So then you net out the 500, and in a sense, you have 237 to add to that. So if everything works itself out, then over the course of by the end of the fiscal year, the idea would be to take 225 or so and put it into reserve to offset the 500 that was taken out this past year.
Okay, yeah. And if that changes, we'll make sure that, we won't have to figure that out ourselves.
No, throughout the course of the year, I mean, obviously, the council's already approved the additional 200,000.
Right, we know,
for
yeah.
resurfacing, so, and that was, in a sense, tied to whether we had favorable cash on hand, and after we reconciled the books, we did have it, so.
So we shouldn't start asking questions about that $200,000 increase to reserve until
Yeah,
maybe January, maybe?
Later, yeah, later in
If I'm still
fiscal year.
around, I mean, I could ask it right now.
Well, it won't really be 237,000 increase to reserves.
It'd be
It will be that
37,000.
we won't take 200,000 out.
Yeah, you're exactly right, because
Right.
the council
You put 37
offset it
back in.
basically. Right, exactly.
So you didn't take the 500 out already?
No, that 500 came out throughout the course of the last fiscal year. So that 500
That's been
came out of
spent.
reserves. That's been spent.
Right,
But we were going to offset that with the 237.
right.
But we're not going to offset it, as the mayor just said, because the council approved the additional 2.
Okay.
But currently
So
we
we're
have
going to go
3
down to from about 3.8 to about 3.3.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Good job, Jim.
Then the second item is the city council training budget. As all of you probably remember, you have approved $2,400 for city council training. I happen to know that one city councilman is going to the next KLC conference, and he spends almost $400,000 to go to that, and he hasn't paid for a hotel.
400,000?
No, he's already spent almost 400. His 400.
You said 400,000, I'm just clarifying. That just caught my ear.
Yeah, I was like, I want to go.
Okay, let me start over on that 400,000. $400, which is 1/6 of 2,400. So he's already spent that. However, I've noticed in the previous year, some of you don't spend any of that money. So it would seem to me that if a city councilman pays $400 for over $400, that he needs to come back to the city council and see if some other city council member is not going to spend theirs, so that he doesn't have to take it out of pocket.
Good plan.
Is that what the city council would like to do?
I don't have a problem with that, Mr. Mayor. When this first came up, it was something I kind of stimulated. I will say that I've gone to trainings, just not asked for reimbursement.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with that being the case, just as long as we get the knowledge and experiences brought back to this table. I'm all for that. But
Okay.
The reason it was set up that way individually is, believe me, there was quite a bit of long discussion about it, was to keep one person from using all of it, so that it is spread out, so that everybody has that opportunity.
Well, I would say that if one person wants to use more than his allocated amount, he has to come back to the council and say that I have talked to Councilman X, and he's not going to use his, or she's not going to use hers, and I would like to use that so it doesn't come out of my pocket. That's what I think we ought to do.
I agree with that.
That would be fine.
Okay. The next item I have on here is I want to review with you what it costs for us to operate the community pool. And if you look at all of the money we take in and all of the repairs that we have to do, The bottom line is in fiscal year 12-13, we lost $42,970. That's
How
what the
much?
city had to pay to make the pool operate. to operate.
$42,970.
Thank you.
And then you just keep going to the successive fiscal years. So 13-14, it was 39,837. 14-15, it was 58,315. FY 15-16, last year, it was 53,265. And then if you look at FY 16-17, our current fiscal year, to date, it's 23,987, and it will probably be close to $50,000 by the time all that is calculated. I'm just giving that to you for information, so you'll know what it cost for us to keep a community pool open.
Mayor, may I be excused? I want to go to the Code Enforcement Review Board meeting, which starts in about 5 minutes. That's going on in the basement, right?
No, it's going to be in the city conference, in
Okay.
the council room.
All right.
And you're not going to miss much. All of this is just information.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I've also been asked to go to that meeting. May I go also?
That's what you want to do.
Well, Mayor, no, I'm just kidding.
I just,
Let me go through the rest of it very quickly.
I'm gonna take your time. I think the both of us are just joking.
Number 4 is recycling. And I was asked a question about recycling when I walked in tonight, and they want to know, where's the recycling bin? Over the weekend, because the county has closed all their recycling locations except one and consolidated that in Elizabethtown. If you looked at the News Enterprise story in the middle of the week and looked at the picture of our recycling bin, it showed that we had recycling stuff in that bin, plus it was contaminated with trash, plus stuff stacked around the side of it and up the steps. And so when that happens, everything in that recycling bin, when they pick it up, goes to the dump. They do not separate contaminated recycling. So on Monday, I moved that, told Toby to move that inside of the fence, and the recycling thing will only be open from 7:30 in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 days a week. That assures us that we are doing what we need to do for the environment, and that is everything that goes in the recycling bin will be monitored, and when they pick it up, it can all go to recycling instead of the driver's not going to sort that out. He's going to take it to the dump if it's contaminated. So that was the reason for doing that. And Carolyn, we will put a sign up there so that you can know exactly where it is.
You've already got a sign, just put the words in it and put an arrow.
You got it. You got it. And the last thing I want to give you for information is I've been thinking about this for some time. So what I'm going to start, and this is just for me, next Tuesday, is I'm going to be in this city council room at 5:30, an hour before the city council meets, and I will be available to answer questions or hear comments from any city council person that wants to have that kind of discussion with me. And I won't be behind this desk, I'll be out there. And we'll see how that works, and if it works out right, I'll just continue doing it. I meant the public. Okay, that's 4 million, I said, and I talked about the council when I meant the public. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. I was puzzled.
Well, it's not puzzled now. You can come to this. And the city council, if any member of the city council wanted to come, they invited to do it. But I will be here.
Now, I think for legal reasons, we'd have to limit to 3 of us, right, Mr. Pike?
Yes.
Yeah.
In theory, it's,
Yeah, so I think.
I'd rather
Yeah,
not see
okay.
more than 3.
Right,
Okay.
so I think you might have to, rotate the invitation to
Okay.
3 and then another 3.
Okay.
So,
If the 3 city council persons that are here today want to take me up on that, the 3 of you are invited to come. The other 3 would have to coordinate it.
so if we come at 5:30, does that mean we get to leave early? Right, yeah.
No, but there's no reason to come early if you don't want to. I want to see if this generates enough interest for,
Now you're starting something, Mayor.
Huh?
The three that left are Stan and Mr. Short and Ms. Baker, and now you've excluded them. That's, you know what, they can all show up.
Yeah.
Live a little. Just don't take any official action.
Okay.
Okay.
Right?
But if it's sitting here right before our meeting and the citizens are coming, I'm not gonna lose sleep over that.
Okay. Okay, then I have 3 topics on updates. The first update is on the workbook, the handbook, the employee handbook, chapters 1 and 2. It's been a couple of months, and I have one councilman that has given me some written comments.
Did you get mine? You didn't get it?
I get it.
Okay, I'll read them.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just around people that are not in the city applying for jobs in the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when I get that, I don't intend to bring that up in September. I'll bring that up in October.
Okay.
And hopefully I can have all the comments by then. And then the same thing applies to Councilman Holmes has a proposed ordinance dealing with registration of vacant residential property. And when he presented that a couple of months ago, he wanted input from the city council. And if he doesn't get any input by October, then we'll go ahead and bring that forward as he has presented it so far. And the same thing with Councilman Short's proposed ordinance establishing a code enforcement board. Okay.
Okay.
And that's the last thing that I have, but our city attorney wants to talk to you about the hearing that we have been trying to schedule and what we need to do about it.
First of all, I'm gonna apologize to you guys for the lack of coordination that's going on with this hearing date. We've had to reschedule twice because of lack of availability of witnesses, and our witnesses, as you know, are certain officials. The other side requested the last continuance for the reason that was stated in that confidential email. We are going, what I have done today is told basically everybody else except us, get your dates.
Yeah.
Give us dates, and then that way the ball will be in our court. What I've been doing is they've been giving me dates, and then we've been trying to confirm dates, and then somebody on the other side is backing out, or somebody affiliated.
Right.
I said, we're not gonna do that anymore. To coordinate, because you've got multiple moving pieces here, obviously, and you guys are way too busy to be jerked around with this kind of stuff in terms of dates. So what I've told them is, give us dates, and I'm telling you now, it's probably gonna be a Tuesday. Give us dates so that I can come back to you all and we can nail that down, because I'm done and I know you're done with it. Right. But we need to, when I give you those dates, I'm gonna be looking for responsiveness from you guys as best you can. But
I'm available any
I
day.
understand, and I appreciate that, but and I want as many council here for that as can possibly make it. What I don't want to do is have a situation where we finally commit and then we can't make it because of a lack of a quorum.
Right.
And I know that's really that hasn't happened much at all. What I don't want is I don't want a situation where the other side has a legal claim trying to say that we're, dragging feet or whatever. So, but I wanted to tell you that today and apologize for, and some of that was our retained counsel, and I think a misunderstanding with the other attorney involved, and then we thought there was a good date, and then a witness said, no, can't do it, and after the fact, and don't really know what happened with that, but you've got 5 or 6 moving parts here, and plus you all, so it's not been the easiest thing to schedule.
So the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th of October are now out, and it'll be post 18 October.
Yeah, I believe.
So now we're talking about, that's what I was about to ask.
Yes,
So now we're posting.
October 4 is bad, October 11 is bad.
October 18th.
October 18 I think is bad.
25 is.
I think that, yeah, but I think, actually I know for sure on Thursday, I'm gonna be involved in a conference call with all of the other individuals to try to get that nailed down so that we can bring back dates for you all to get it scheduled once and for all.
Is there a certain date that we have to have this done by? I mean,
No, not now, because we've already scheduled the initial hearing, and then they asked for more time, so that kind of bumps it back to where we don't have that 60-day deadline anymore.
so do we have the option of saying, you know, we need it done by this time? I mean, I know that we had a deadline to meet, right, correct?
Yeah, well,
You know, so is there any way that we can say, you know, we need this done and settled?
we can, but we're not at that point where we're telling people by this date or else, because
Right.
there's lawyers involved. And then
Right.
our witnesses are not just witnesses that you can order, you know.
Right.
Here's a subpoena to show up. It's not that way with these witnesses, obviously. There's other considerations, so, but yeah, I want it to be done by October. We will try to do that.
Right.
But I can't guarantee it.
Well, you know,
We'll know more Thursday.
my concern is, you know, currently, we're probably working overtime to cover an officer. You know, at some point, you know, it's important,
And
you know.
the status vis-a-vis, the individual is unchanged.
Right.
Status quo.
Right,
But I understand your point.
right. It's costing us money, so we need to settle it.
We need to get this done one way or the other.
Correct.
And have that. So.
Okay.
And if you have questions, comments, or concerns,
Yes.
holler at me.
Yes.
Okay. But that's,
Okay, I have one more piece of information that I just got that I want to share with you. I think most of you remember Miss Linda Niemiller,
Yes.
who wants a
Crosswalk?
crosswalk down by McDonald's.
oh, yeah.
And we found out that we had special funding to do that. We just didn't know when they were going to do it. That is HSIP money, and I know that the HS stands for Highway Safety, and I think the IP is Improvement Program.
HSIP?
HSIP money, which is separate from the normal money that's spent on roads. And they're going to let that contract on October 13th.
All right.
And not only they're letting that contract, but they're going to put a right turning lane in as you're going east on Lincoln Trail. If you ever do what I have to do in the evening.
Go on
and
the shoulder.
Yeah, and you have to go in the shoulder if you want to turn because somebody's at a stoplight and won't move. They're going to put a turn lane in there so that people like the mayor don't have to break the law anymore.
I always find those people quite annoying, Mayor.
Do you have to break the law?
Not in that way.
Okay, I don't either. I just been tempted to.
People who break the law is the ones who's been paying your bills.
Been tempted to. That's all that we have for tonight, and we've only been here 40 minutes.
Oh,
Good deal. So
So
can we go down to this code enforcement thing?
You can go down there.
can we go now?
So we don't have to adjourn, we're just finished.